crimes against our king and kingdom, the bard has been accused of inspiring a rebellion and caused distress and chaos. How do you plead?
I plead not guilty. It is not I who abused their holy power to control the masses and reaped all the wealth of their labor. If only I had a fraction of the powers that were described in the past, I could then correct all the injustices in this kingdom, starting at the top.
Enough! We all know of your so-called tales from the past that never existed, and the powers you speak of could never thwart the holy power of our monarch.
Why must I always do this act of listening to this peasant? Gods, execute this.
My friend, I knew you would come to save me. Now I shall inspire them with another tale from Ramble Shamble.
Good day and salutations, people who are listening to this podcast of Ramble Shamble. Today, the host is the fabulous Mackie. I am self-praising myself, apologies. But since I am the host, I get a little bit more power to say these certain things. And again, we are joined by the fabulous, the wondrous, the spectacular Yotes.
Hello, everyone. Although, when someone says that they're fabulous, you have to imagine them walking down a catwalk with like fashionable clothes. And sparkling and glistening.
And people shouting, can I have an interview? Autograph! Woo!
Yeah. Take off the shirt!
No, just move it on. It's too damn sexy. That actually reminds me, because I did actually watch the Thor Love and Thunder. Actually didn't quite enjoy it. It's too childish for me. I think we did speak about this before. But I felt like it's too childish. Fun, but a bit too childish.
What did you think of? But you clearly saw the kind of the plot hole, the law break a little bit, where he empowered like 50 children.
That was stupid.
It doesn't, and it wasn't like in Naruto or something where if you empower, like if your power is divided amongst other people, then it actually divides your own power by
100%.
The factor of how many times you divided it. No, all of them had the full power of Thor. And like the one little girl had a teddy bear as her weapon.
And shot lasers from it. It was stupid as heck.
Yeah, so like I had a fun time, but I thought that the Taika Waititi humor was too much, and the screaming goats got to me after like the first 5 times. Like that's already a lot, but after that it started irritating me.
No, the director of that movie, I can't remember his name at the top of my head for some reason.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, Taika Waititi. He got a bit too into his own kind of like ego, and there is a Thor 5 obviously coming out, and he's not been asked to come back. So they obviously, I think Disney and Marvel kind of saw this and they say, okay, dude, you effed up quite a bit here. You clearly were too all over the place. Clearly this was a bad movie. And jeez, don't get me wrong. When it came to that scene, it was one of the first times ever in a Marvel movie I clicked the fast forward button, because I just couldn't bear to watch these kids run up at these monstrous tentacles / arms, feeling like they are the boss and so brave and powerful. And I kind of like went scene by scene to kind of see if there was anything interesting. But I just said, no, this movie lost me right there and there. Oh,
yeah,
so disappointed.
Do you know what gallows humor is?
Perhaps if you give it a description, I might know.
So like gallows humor is like a really dark kind of humor where it's people who are on death row. So like a gallows is that scaffolding that you have
Oh,
where you hang
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And so gallows humor is where you try to make light of a really dark and grim and hopeless
Yeah.
situation by
Okay.
making mock of that situation itself. And I thought that the gallows humor that they used for cancer in Thor Love and
Yeah.
Thunder was a little bit too much. Um, like
100%.
it could have been really well placed, but because of the childish the light-hearted tone of the rest of the movie, I didn't feel that that tone of humor was as or it's not something that you can necessarily combine with gallows humor.
Oh, 100%. And like I saw even Chris Hemsworth said that the movie was terribly done. It was a movie that was like a kid could make a better movie than that. And it just
Yeah.
was poor directing of the director. The director got too much into his own head. His own ego was too high, and
Yeah.
it was just unfortunately a very poorly done. Like Thor Ragnarok was a fun, really cool movie. It had some fun to it. It was on the side of like when it's serious, it's serious. But this one kind of tried to
Yeah.
be serious and funny at the same time, and you can't necessarily have that.
Yeah, they gave it like 5 times as much of the humor that was in Thor Ragnarok,
Yeah,
which that's just it's too much.
100%.
Like in Thor Ragnarok, some parts which are humorous are they start humorous and then you realize like, oh shit, damn, that's actually pretty serious. Like
Yeah.
when Thor throws his hammer at Hela and she grabs it and smashes it. You're like, oh no way, she smashed his hammer, lol. And then you're like, oh shit, wait, she could just smash his hammer by squeezing it.
Eh.
How strong is she? And then you realize, it settles in.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's where, like, it was just, yeah, apparently the director was also not too was not too familiar with the Thor universe or even Marvel.
Mm.
But I think that's enough time of us diverting from that. Jotun, today we're dealing with a very serious topic. A topic where we both have a deep, deep, deep passion about. And the topic is involving gaming. Jotun, do you remember why, or do you remember the first time you ever played games and you like saying, "Oh, I enjoy games"? I know it's a bit of a weird question.
I don't actually remember when I did, because I grew up like I'm a millennial, so
I'm a millennial.
old TV games and like the generic version of the SNES and the Nintendo Entertainment System and things. But like the Backstreet China Shop version where it has like 1,000 or whatever games. I remember playing though like one of those consoles, and I remember playing stuff like Super Mario and I think it's called Duck Hunt and such at my cousin's house. But I also remember like early Need for Speed games that I played with my older brother because he was one with a PC. And so like I kind of remember the time when I started playing video games in general, but I don't remember exactly which game I played first. But
Oh, jeez.
I do remember the first game that I owned and bought myself, which is probably my favorite game of all time and had a massive influence on me in terms of even what my interests are and where I eventually did my higher education. And that game is Black and White.
I thought it was going to be black and white, but when you spoke more and more, I thought Tomb Raider was going to be there or something like that. I'm like, wait, I don't remember him playing Tomb Raider.
No, it was black and white.
Oh,
and I was actually very lucky because it's truly a fantastic game in its own time as well. Whereas my brother got himself the Phantom Menace from Star Wars, which we actually thought was a bloody amazing game. But then again, that's viewing it through the eyes of a child who hasn't played much. And
mhm.
from what I've heard of reviews and retrospectives nowadays, apparently it's a game that will get a big visit from the suck fairy. Let's just say that. Yeah.
No, I still remember the first game that so look, when I was young, I have an older brother and he would play on our parents' PC, and my father is still kind of into the gaming. And there was quite a few games, but like the two games I can remember vividly, and I was like 3 or 4 at the time, so I can still remember the games that detailed. And the first two games I remember and like started actually putting input into was the original Jurassic Park movie game based on the second movie, and the Lost
Lost World.
Vikings 2. Yeah, Lost World and Lost Vikings 2. And I can remember two specific instances in those two games, was because one was a strategy game and one was more like a puzzle platformer game. Lost Vikings is that kind of thing. And I remember my brother and I struggling to get this certain key from this like little crevice, and we couldn't think of like, how do we get this key? We couldn't like get it. It was just not working with the 3 characters you have at your disposal. So I was like sleeping. I was like going to bed one night, and I thought, wait, the one character has a shield. You can move his shield up and down. What if and I was like 4 at the time. So again, I have never played this game properly, but I had like this thinking, like, if he can put a shield on top of his head, can that not be a way for another character to stand on top, where the other character can extend his arm and grab things? So when we eventually came back to the same level again, I said to my brother, saying, look, I know this is weird, but I was having I just have an idea. Position your guy. No, more right. Now make his shield go on top of his head, okay? And put the guy with the extender arm thingy on top of that guy, and it worked. And I was like, I don't know how I did that, but I felt that a surge of like, whoa, I'm actually smarter than I thought I am.
Huh. Well, that's the whole thing of video games. It's like most of it is problem solving.
Oh, 100%. And the second time, watching my brother play Jurassic World, Lost World, or what, it was just such a great game. He played that game so much, and I would just sit there right next to him, just watching him place his buildings everywhere. And that's a proper strategy game. And again, only 4, maybe 5 at this age. And again, I'm not really understanding the purposes of each building, but I saw how he did everything. And I watched him for so many days I lost count. And at one point, I asked my brother, like, do you mind if I stop playing the game? And he's like, you're quite young. I don't think you're going to be able to handle it. And I said, yeah, can I just give it a try? And he watched me play, and I imitated his exact placements and movement to the point, where I was placing buildings exactly where he placed them, making the army exactly how he'd make his army, and I just like copied and pasted it. Oh man, special memories to me.
Yeah. So I think I'm looking at it online here. The Last Vikings, you said.
Lost Vikings 2, so not the first one. The first one, I have played it, but it's not as good as the second one. The second one, you get to play as a dragon character as well as a werewolf, and it had a bit of more of a story compared to the first one. Oh, but such a it's a quite an old game. If people look it up now, they're gonna say, "Oh, what is this?" Guys, just keep in mind, back in then, those graphics were pretty pristine. Okay, don't diss on that kind of game too much. Again, I was like 4 at the time. Jotun was mentioning Black and White, which came out quite a bit later than the games I just mentioned. But I think we've given the guys, the audience, a bit of an insight to our gaming experience and understanding. We both started at a relatively young age. Me probably a lot longer, a bit younger than you were.
Yeah.
But that leads us to the first question of this topic of the episode, which this topic is video game items or equipments that we could use in the real life. And we look, for points of clarity, if we decide to do Mario's mushroom, this item has unlimited use, so it would never degrade or go away. So just to kind of make sure that we're not like, oh, it's once off and now once we use it, it's gone. We're gonna bend the rules slightly and say that this item is, you can get it and bring it to the real world. And depending on how we tackle each ones, we might have time for 2 items that we'd like to bring into it. But this episode's gonna be a bit more of a debated analysis episode where myself and Jotun are gonna scrutinize each other's ideas to make sure that our idea stands victorious on top. So I'm sure Jotun's got many games that I have not touched before, and he probably has these perfect items. But just to clarify, we're not taking characters. It has to be an item. So something that is not necessarily living. I'll allow the half living status. So if it's like it's organic item, then that makes sense. But if you like bring, say, like Kirby, I won't agree to that, because although Kirby is an OP entity, he's an entity, he's a being. So I won't really count that as an item. That just to clarify there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, depending on, well, actually, Jotun, do you want to go first? I'm sure that you're brimming with different ideas and different items. Or would you like me to kind of... Okay, good. I like that determination.
I'll go first because based on your description a little bit earlier, I'm actually a little bit scared that you're going to say my OP one yourself.
I don't think so, hey? I don't think so.
Although my one is a relatively short one. So I'm going to, just because I'm not sure if you're going to say it, I'm going to actually start with my heavy hitter before I go to another one. Okay.
Perfect. That's what I was going to do.
This item is actually one that comes from one of the very oldest games in like gaming, but it's one that has lasted. It's deeply entrenched in gaming culture, and even non-gamers would probably be able to recognize it, or at least the franchise and the proper IP that it comes from. Okay, so you mentioned Super Mario's mushroom, but I chose Super Mario's invincibility star, the superstar, also known as Starman, star bonuses, the invincible Starman, or things along those lines. And the reason why I chose this, especially as an item that has unlimited uses, because the Starman wears off after like 30 seconds or a minute. It's actually pretty quick. But the player, after he picks it up, literally becomes invincible. The user becomes temporarily invulnerable to damage. He can defeat any enemy, and anything that would be fatal, like lava pits, time running out, getting crushed, is like it doesn't like hamper him anymore. He's totally invincible. There's one thing though. The black boo from Bowser's Fury mode can switch it off in a few of the games. Yeah, Super Mario World 3D and Bowser's Fury.
But keep in mind
in any case, it's unlimited.
Yeah, but you're bringing this item to the real world, so it doesn't mean that those entities are going to come with you on that. So basically, you have that item in the real world. So it's not that you're based in the game. You're taking the item from the game into the real world.
Yeah. And so a few little extra things. It also gives you much faster speed, like a substantial amount of extra speed. And if you defeat 8 enemies, because look, we're taking all the attributes of the item, right? So if you defeat 8 enemies, you get an extra life. Now, I don't know about how much you like dying, Mackie, but an extra life for taking down 8 enemies is a pretty sweet thing.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I just want to clarify. So, say now this item obviously wears off. Now, I did say unlimited usage. So, how long and what happens to? So, does like the star pop out of you and you just pick it up again and keep going? And how long does it last in you?
I'm not sure how. I'm not actually sure how long it lasts. I think it's actually variable in different games.
So would like 30 seconds be sufficient?
Yeah, let's say 30 seconds. I don't think it's established in any games or in the law or anything that there's a cooldown. The only limiting factor in most of the games is that you actually have to get to the next star.
Yeah, so would this pop out of you and then you grab it again, or? I
think for the purpose of this, granted we have unlimited uses and let's say somehow you were able to go into the Super Mario world and you got the star and you came back either before consuming it or you came back while powered up, I think that you can either assume that it's like a part of you now, although you actually have to choose to activate it.
Okay,
You
that makes
can't
sense.
you can't be infinitely powered up or like it never runs out. So
makes sense.
even if it's like you're powered up for 30 seconds, and if you're in the middle of the fight, you forget to repower up after those 30 seconds, then it's your bad, you know?
Yeah,
So
100%.
I think that would be the limitation, is if you get a bit big-headed about the fact that you're invincible and you forget to repower up, and then lo and behold, in that second that you weren't thinking straight, someone kills you, then
100%.
you know, that's probably the biggest flaw. But I get an extra life after I beat 8 enemies. So I could die a few times and have it not be a problem. So yeah, that's my contender.
I give it, so let me scrutinize 2 points, okay? The first point, you get so sick and tired of the song that will play every time you activate your power. And it will be horrible because initially you'll be like, and now every time you're activating that for 30 seconds of I would go crazy after like the 150 times. But I guess it's like the booyah man, not the oh yeah man that crashes through the wall. You go have your own theme tune as you're running in.
Yeah, Kool-Aid man. But what if that's just the game's way of showing that you've got like an adrenaline rush?
Yeah, but
So
I think
then
the song would also come with it because you will be
I'll
glowing
grant you
rainbow
that.
and the song would be coming with you. So you can't necessarily I feel like that would come with it.
Okay, but then I don't really think that would be a downside, because then after a while, I think it would be more of a downside for other people. That's like an extra
100%.
downside for your enemies, because then it's like we've played a mod of Left 4 Dead 2 together where Shrek is the tank. So it's it would take on the quality of, what's that band called that sings
All
Hey
Star.
Now?
Yeah,
All Star. I think All Star is the song, not the band.
Yeah. Burning for Soup.
But anyway,
I think it's Burning for Soup or something like that.
All Star by Smash Mouth. That's the one.
Yes.
So in like that Left 4 Dead 2 mod, you can make a tank Shrek, but every time it starts to come in the distance and the horde comes, then you hear softly in the background, "Hey now, you're a rock star." Da, 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 da. And then Shrek comes in and he starts punching shit and like throwing rocks around, and you're flying through the air. I think that Star song would take on that quality.
Oh, 100%.
And so it would just increase the fear factor for your enemies.
Oh man, I really wish we could have like an animator just to animate yourself. Like you see like this intense gunfire scene. Everyone's like terrified and scared. Kids are crying in the corner, and the terrorists are like, "Oh god, Bob!" And then all of a sudden you hear this. It's like, what's that song?
Oh, I can imagine it. And then the kids' faces light up, and they're like rays coming from their faces as they realize that they're finally saved.
Seeing this rainbow-colored guy smashing through people and having his theme tune.
You wouldn't even have to animate like extra rays or anything. You just have to like put on neon filters for the scene, because all the light is coming off the superstar person.
Oh, that is an awesome item. I give you a really great one there. Okay, let's go into my item. This is my powerhouse as well. We'll see if we have a fun one to chat about afterwards. My big powerhouse is Maxwell's book from Scribblenauts. Do you know of this said item, Jotun? I just want to test if you know Scribblenauts or not.
I've never played Scribblenauts.
Oh, Such a good game. Very good for the creative mind. A lot of people say, it's a kid's game. You can be pretty creative in the game if you have the only real limitation is your memory. And look, they won't go like 6 and that kind of stuff, but you can do some strange things. So, brief description. Maxwell's book Inscrutable Noughts is that anything he writes in his book comes into reality, and that's including adjectives, as well as he can use this. He can change the person's description. So, Jotun, if you're feeling sick, in the book it would state sick Jotun, and if I remove that adjective of sick, then you're cured. So think of that. So anything that you can write as a descriptor or write in the book will come into reality, or it can change the description of people around you. So if I say metallic Jotun, you'll turn into a metal version of yourself. Think of that. Or if I say massive Jotun, you'll turn into a giant version of yourself. So there's a lot of, even if I say flying Jotun, you'll start flying through the air with the ability to fly, even though you have nothing to really pulling you. You're just flying Jotun. So you can increase your speed, you can do all these things. Now this book is so overpowered, I cannot stress enough that I think this is probably the end all of end all items. Why I state that is that if I'm running low in cash, I can state 300 ZAR or 300 pounds, and boom, it's now in my vicinity. I can change myself to be like, I see, hey, Jotun's got that cool little star. I can state Super Mario star in my book, and voila, I have it. It's not like unlimited, like Jotun's star, but I can still grab it and then go, and then I have 2, gonna kind of like save the town from whatever that danger there is. But this item allows you to kind of, the only real limitation to it is your own imagination. I could even make a duplicate of myself. So I can state, it doesn't just create inanimate objects, I can create organics. So if I can state dragon, I will create a dragon. If I write down Mackie, there'll be another Mackie who would be exact duplicate of myself. Now I could write down as well, which is quite fun in the game itself, is that I could state evil Mackie, and then there'll be an evil version of myself. So again, limitation is your own imaginations. I can write UFO, I can write Godzilla, I can basically create anything or anyone, and I can change the description of everyone around me. So I can say dead bad guys, and then the bad guy that I'm writing the description for will just fall on the ground dead. And I could remove the word dead and the guy will automatically come back to life. That's how powerful this item is, in my opinion.
Okay, so that is pretty hectic. That's pretty hectic. But do you know of any other items in video gaming that, or another form of media that can change reality? Let's say the reality, the gauntlet from Marvel. What's it called again?
The Infinity Gauntlet.
Infinity Gauntlet. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is one thing that I see from the wiki page of Maxwell. That
you look at a wiki page.
Yeah, man, I'm poking holes in your thing here. Eh? So there is one thing that the notebook can't do, and that it's not allowed to influence at all. And that's copyrighted material that are not from DC, Mario, or Zelda.
Yeah, true.
So if I get something from the DC universe, then you can't influence that.
No, 100%. No, I can still fight it, but I can't change the descriptor of it. So
so you can't change the DC, Mario, or Zelda thing. So Mario
I can
happens
still change
to be where
because
my
you're not part of DC. If you throw an item from DC, then I can't change the descriptor.
Yeah. So what the wiki for Maxwell says is, it says equipment notebook. Maxwell's main tool he uses when going on his adventures to write down anything into existence, whether it be an object or a living being, or even both at the same time. Though this excludes copyrighted material that are not from DC, Mario, and Zelda. I'm just not sure if it's saying that it can change things from those three
it can change them. It's just that in the game itself, it doesn't allow it because of copyright. So if I put in Zelda's sword, because the game doesn't own the rights of Zelda's sword in the game, it won't make it.
Okay.
But since
So-
I'm bringing this item out to the real world, it doesn't have those restraints anymore. It's like it's unrestrained. So if I write down Zelda's sword in the real world, I should be able to have it in my hand.
Yeah. But you can't change the item itself.
I should be able to because there's no copyright restriction. So if I said glowing Zelda sword, I should be able to make a glowing Zelda sword. If I say a fire glowing Zelda sword, I should make a fire glowing Zelda sword.
Yeah, but now you can change that because it's not in the game world, right?
Yes, because I'm bringing it to the real world.
So then why do I get the irritating music if I bring it to the real world and it's not in the game?
Because it's an actual physical attribute, where this one is more because of a game restriction. So if your one didn't make yourself glow in the game itself, like it was because of legal reasons, then I would say, okay, I wouldn't add that to yours. But because this one is more because if Maxwell decided to include DC Zelda there, they could be sued, because the fact is that their game would be, it's not a limited.
Yeah, I think you're thinking too much about the legality and the copyright fact of it. What you should be thinking of rather is, can Maxwell's notebook change anything from DC, Mario, or Zelda? Have you ever seen it change anything like that?
Oh, there is a Scribblenauts DC version, so clearly they do allow the manipulation of it, because there is a Scribblenauts DC crossover where you can make anyone from DC. So now you have the question of the fact is that it is basically due to legality, from my reasoning at least, because if it was that they couldn't do it, then why is there a Scribblenauts DC crossover version where you could physically write in the book, say Superman from alternate universe said so, and voila, there's Superman from alternate universe so I think it's just basically legality.
Okay, well, I think we'll let the audience decide there, because
I think I brought a decent argument to that, because I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because if we don't see him evidenced as changing these things, because the way the Scribblenauts DC thing looks to me is that he just summons the other characters.
Oh no,
like
he
Batman
changes them.
And Wonder Woman.
He changes them. I played the Scribblenauts DC crossover. He changes them.
Okay.
And even with like Superman, you had to fight like Lex Luthor thing, and Lex Luthor was modified to be Kryptonian. So you had to like say, okay, so how do you fight Kryptonian? With kryptonite. So you make kryptonite. And you say, okay, but if Superman's fighting Lex, he will also be affected. So you state, okay, Superman is made out of lead, so lead Superman. And he was no longer affected, but Lex was now affected. So I agree with you. I don't know. We could say, look, it doesn't affect Nintendo and Zelda if you want to keep that. But I still think, because the fact that you can change the one, it's purely legality, that because the game itself can't put that in there or they'll get sued. Unfortunately. Maybe I get sued if I make those items. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, well, my interpretation is that regardless of the reason why he can't do it, or that the notebook can't influence those properties, the fact of the matter is that it can't influence those properties. Now, you've pointed out the DC exception.
Mm-hmm.
But where does the Super Starman come from, Mackie?
Well, I say I make a consumable star. So you say star, so I'll create a fictional star. So I'll write down a cartoon star so it doesn't burn my eyes or destroy humanity as it is. Because again, I have to be careful what I write down. If I write down star, it makes it a physical star.
So you're going to propose a movable object and a movable object and infinite mover scenario for me, where you say you're going to make a star that trumps the Super Mario Starman, but my Super Mario Starman is already invincible.
Yes, no, I'm not trying to trump you. I'm just explaining you how I make my star. Because like you said, if I can't make your star, so I'll make a cartoon star, and I edit the attributes. Attribute, invincible. Consumable.
Same attributes. Yeah.
Yes, exactly that. And then I will make theoretically your star. But like you said, I'll have to write that down every single time. where yours is like
Ah.
inside of you, where
Yeah.
that would not work. But what I could do is say that I'm invincible or I'm God. I can say Mackie God, and then I'll become God. That's how
Yeah.
powerful this book is. So technically,
Well-
we'll both be stalemate, but you would have probably your tune will chase me away, and I'll just fly to a different galaxy with my book in hand.
Yeah. Well, that opens up questions about the limitations of the notebook, in as much as it's limited to natural English language. And
As far as
I
I'm
mean
aware.
like natural language as Felix was describing it in that one episode, and why it's so difficult to get AIs and computers to behave based on a description. Because now you can write anything in your notebook, but you're limited by how quickly you can write. And you can't abbreviate things if it's not an actual English abbreviation, because you understand what you're writing.
Oh yeah,
It has to be
100%.
something that's in the English language.
Yeah, I'll have to carry a thesaurus around.
Yeah.
But if I write down like super fast, like supersonic Mackie, then I'm moving at supersonic speeds every time I write down. So yes, you're right. I am limited to that.
that's-
But if I make
yeah,
myself
that's
write this
true.
pretty fast, then I'm just like writing down like in super fast flash mode. Sonic booms happening all around me as I'm writing each and every line.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of. I agree with you. There's
I
a lot
think
of
I think it
flaws.
still opens up a lot of things as well, because then you would have to actually increase your own metabolism and things as well,
Oh,
because
100%.
you could write supersonic, but that doesn't mean that your brain is processing fast enough to keep up with your hands now.
No, because you say supersonic Mackie, everything about you is supersonic, so technically, like, you're right, metabolism. I probably will be crapping my pants supersonically, pissing my pants supersonically, and starving supersonically.
Yeah, or you'd like age 5 years and 5 seconds.
100%. But if I write down the right things first, like, say,
Immortal
Mackie,
supersonic Mackie.
and then obviously I can remove the adjectives. So say like I'm done being supersonic, I can remove it and then be still immortal Mackie.
Immortal self-sustaining immortal self-sustaining nutrient recycling Mackie.
Admit it, you're interested in this game now that I mentioned it. It's
A bit.
that's how free it is, because you can like, I like playing that game in the co version because you and another person just makes it so funny, because you can change everything about yourself and everything around you, and just chaos.
Immortal geez, what's that thing that got us to start the whole podcast again? Something about unlimited energy. Perpetual.
Perpetual
so
motion machine.
Unlimited perpetual energetic metabolism Mackie.
Oh, 100%.
And supersonic.
Oh, 100%.
That's where you've covered all your bases.
Yeah.
You're a god.
But that's what I'm saying. This book is, I think your power up is very good, but I think mine's more versatile. So I think your one would still trump me in a battle. So if I were to try to fight you, I think your share, like, I'm sure I can make myself invincible, but because of Mario's star, we assume that anything around you could eventually die, even if it's invincible. So I'll concede you on there. But I think my versatility, like, everyday thing, is just, like, so much more powerful, because I can, like, say, I feel like driving a Ferrari. Oh, well, turbo boost, adjective, turbo fast Ferrari, and just, like, zoom across the Ferrari, although I would crash into many things.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more fun.
Yeah. So what exactly was the question of today's episode again? The most powerful thing.
Yes, the most powerful, but we'll leave that to the audience but we were still not quite to the end of it. Now, I know we've touched on most powerful ones, but Yota, maybe you can, let's spice it up. Do you know of any power-ups that would probably be really useless? Just to kind of end it off. I also have to kind of think about it. So, do you know of a power-up that...
Can we first briefly give our runner-ups for the powers? Or the items?
100%. So Yes, no problem. So,
before we do like the opposite side of the
oh,
question.
100%. Okay, so audience, your vote is would power up is the best. So,
Of the
Jotun
ones we've already covered,
Yes.
not the ones we're gonna say now.
Yes, so Jotun has covered the Super Mario star, where obviously it's activated inside himself. Duration every 30 seconds, but it improves the speed, makes him invincible. Has the little bit, it's not really a downside, it's just an added attribute of the song coming in there. I won't lie, having Jotun running around with a cool song and hearing this distant, like, and getting louder and louder, you know, you like effed up. You're like, oh crap, there's no escaping this guy. So that is very cool. And then my power up is the Maxwell's notebook. Again, there are limitations, but you have to be a little more creative with how you word things. And again, like Jotun mentioned, if I write down YOLO or abbreviate words, it won't work. It doesn't work in the game, so it doesn't work in real life. So I have to write real words, and it's only limited, and it's always limited by my own understanding of the English language. So again, guys, it's those two things. Your judgment is basically which one do you think is better? Which one you would prefer?
Because now that you say that English language thing again, it's like, what if you can't quickly enough describe what you want to write down?
100%. Then I'm screwed. I'm 100% screwed.
Yeah.
So if you got me in like a submarine and it was like about to blow up, I have to think the right thing. And if I write down aquatic suit, but that doesn't mean that it's equipped to me, and it doesn't mean that that's a aquatic suit that fits me. So there's a lot of downside. Is that obviously I have to be super descriptive. It's like a genie. But there is other ways I could state is that if I was smart enough and had the brain power, like talking to you, it's easy. But when you put in that like stress situation, you don't think of like, simple one is just put an adjective on me and say
it's
girls.
Just adrenaline. Then.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that like the downsides and strong sides of both sides were discussed and pointed out. I just think both our things are awesome, but the audience has to decide which one is the better version, who brought the better power up. We could say like who would you can like layer this audience is like who would win the fight, or you could layer this as versatility, like which one you would use in which situations better. And it's your guys' decisions.
Yeah,
like that,
let us know.
Yeah,
I agree.
Okay, let's talk about crap piles.
Now, quickly, the runners up first, I think, because the crap piles we can actually discuss.
Yeah, let's do the runner ups, and I think we will conclude the episode there. Okay, what's your second runner up?
No, we can discuss the crap ones, but the runner ups we just mentioned.
Okay, cool.
So my runner up, which I was actually going to say first until I thought that Mackie was going to take my one because he talked about the mushroom from Super Mario. The one that I actually chose to start off with was the Crynet nanosuit from the Crisis games.
Ooh, great one.
Yeah, because this is like tactical combat armor, which was designed to fight aliens and stuff. But
brilliant part one.
Yeah, it makes your muscle fibers, like programs your muscle fibers to be extra hard, augmented or camouflaged, and lets you do superhuman feats. So it's got 4 different modes. It's an armor mode, which takes the kinetic forces of bullets and other kinds of physical trauma, kind of like the vibranium thing of Black Panther. Although I don't think it fires it back.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. And it's got a strength mode, which just enhances all of your strength attributes and makes you invulnerable, kind of, or stronger, and lets you jump super high as well. Then there's the speed mode, which just makes you a super speed person by putting some kind of chemical inside your muscles. So all of these different kinds of modes put different, basically, steroids in your muscles that's like non-destructive, and it just like feeds it. Although the suit does drain, so there's a limited amount that you can use before it powers back up again.
Yeah.
And then there's the camouflage or the cloak feature, which basically makes you almost completely undetectable, because it does all things in the wave spectrum. So it's visible light, radio waves, infrared, and possibly microwaves and like ultraviolet. The only catch though is that you do see like a weird telltale shimmer with people who are cloaking, and that's
Yeah.
only visible to the naked eye.
And
So
also
not like
produces
infrared
noise.
scanners and stuff.
Also
Ah,
produces
yeah,
noise.
yeah.
But that suit does have infrared scanners as well. It has all those different visors changes of there as well.
Yeah, it's got a visor, binoculars, a
That's brilliant.
processor,
Hey, man.
rebreather, hydro thruster, storage capacity, data network, environmental controls, and other things.
That is a brilliant item.
And
Jeez.
that's like the Mark 1 version. That's not
Yeah.
even the one that's used in Crisis 2 or 3.
Hey,
Because I just go with original things here.
oh, 100%. No, I think that is a brilliant item. There's the only downside I give it is that it's battery powered, or I say battery powered, but it has a charge rate, so you can't indefinitely
Yeah.
be super strong or indefinitely there. So if you do like a super punch of a car and then jump, you just need to take a bit of a breather and then you can do more crazy antics.
Yeah.
But it is a very cool item.
The reason why I don't think this was my OP one was because although it increases your threshold for all your physical capabilities, there is still a threshold. Whereas with the
100%.
Superstar, it's invincible. There's like
Yeah.
no threshold.
Yeah, there's
So,
compared to your
yeah.
star, this is not an OP. This is definitely an awesome item, but it's definitely not OP.
Yeah.
Okay, let me give my runner up.
And I won't describe it, but the other one that I was considering was the time reversal blade from Prince of Persia.
Such a cool. That's a cool item. I will say that. No, so my item is the Omnitrix from Ben 10 because it is a game, and that Omnitrix is something that I would really love as well. It's a real toss up because now we're talking about the items that we would really love to have and not just
Yeah.
OP. And the Omnitrix, if you guys don't know, is a device that allows you to transform into, it's like 10 billion aliens or something like that, or 1 billion aliens. Different alien forms. And they obviously, because of their genetic structures, they have these powers, but they're not necessarily powers. It's just powers to us because we don't necessarily have them. But there's aliens for almost every situation, for flying, intergalactic travel, super speed, fireballs, super strength, and just having that like, little device that has allowed you to change into those different forms. This is something that is like, oh man, that is a cool item to grab and have on your wrist.
The weakness of that item, though, is that it's glitchy, so it's never the alien that you actually choose. It's almost always a different one, isn't it? Isn't that the problem?
No, so that's initially because the Ben had the device and he was not trained on how to use it, and the device was locked from accessing all the different aliens. So, but if I always get to this device, again, I would also not be able to control it. But like messing around with it, I would spend like say probably it'll take a while. I'll give you that like 5 to 10 years, where I would be messing around this and unlock the master mode. And once you unlock the master mode, you can change to each alien by merely thinking, and you have access to all the aliens. So if you
that's
think,
a long amount of time to be able to die in before you master
I'll still have
it.
access to 10 aliens. Okay, I'll still have access to 10 aliens that you would not necessarily like. I grant you that I'll have a timer on them as well because I'll transform into the thing and not know when it's about time out. So it's like your one where yours also has a timer. So we'll both be like broadening it out and then, okay, break time. Okay, you had your break, yeah? I had my break, yeah? Okay, cool. And then brawl out again.
Yeah.
So
Okay, that's a solid one.
yeah, I think that we both bring some solids. Okay, I really want to touch on one bad one from each of us before the end of the episode. Okay, do you have a bad one in mind?
You go first because this wasn't a prepared question. So I'll have to think about it.
I didn't think of it either, but I'm going to pull something out my rear. So
Is it an item or is it a power up? Because you use those interchangeably, but they actually aren't.
So it has to be an item, so something that you can hold. So something that you can physically hold. So one crappy power up, which is okay, like it is definitely beneficial. Because look, that's what I'm trying to aim here. Like it can still help, but it's not going to help much. The item that I have in my mind is a Pokeball. An infinite use Pokeball.
Oh, I can't beat that. That's like really shit. Like in real life applications.
Hey. Look, this
Unless
Pokeball...
you're being like chased by a dog or something.
No, because a Pokeball could technically work on a human. And the thing is, when you throw it out, you could technically release the person. But the thing is, you only have one Pokeball. So why I say it's not such a great power-up is that you can run around, throw this Pokeball at like a criminal, then you have to run to the prison, release him in the prison, and then you have your Pokeball back to kind of go catch whoever you want to catch up in. And like you said,
well,
you have to physically throw.
I think it could actually be really useful because I don't think it's ever established in the law exactly how much space there is inside of a Pokeball or
wait, did you say
what
like
the compression ratio is. Yeah, so it's like it's kind of like that bag that Newt has from the Fantastic Beasts series where there's more space inside than its actual space in our space-time. And I don't think it's been established.
It's a bad one, okay?
So I'm poking holes in the badness of it, damn it.
Yeah, no, well done.
I think there's a lot of storage utility in that item.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Because it hasn't been limited in the law.
No, I agree with that. I agree. I just assumed because the fact that there's one Pokemon per ball, but maybe that's a courtesy thing.
Isn't there also weird time temporal things that happen in there as well?
Oh, 100%.
Because you have an injured Pokemon and you put it into the Pokeball, and then when next you release the Pokemon, it's healed up.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that's always the case in the series, but that's most of the time the case.
Yeah, you could. It doesn't get healed. You still have to heal it, but
it still takes time, but it's like rapid or something.
Yeah, I think so too, because you do see it in the series at least. But like in the physical game, you had to physically potion it up, but you could heal it while it's still in the ball, in the game at least.
Yeah. So I think as a minimum, it has the same healing properties as like a Bacta tank from Star Wars.
Agreed. I'll agree with that. Agreed. Okay.
Yeah.
So
but that's a pretty crap one. Well done. Nice choice for crappy things.
Thank you. What's your crappy thing? I want to hear it.
Okay, so my one is a weapon, and it would either be the chain gun from Gears of War.
Okay.
Because that thing is actually so damn cool. Like a chainsaw on the bottom of the barrel of your gun. That's just awesome. And it's established that it can cut through like really thick bodies and wires and things. And number 2 is the plasma sword from Halo, because that thing, we said unlimited uses. In Halo, it's like you can use it like 4 or 5 times and it's done. Okay. But it's really powerful up until that point.
But yeah, this is unlimited, so that means it doesn't get done.
Yeah.
You just get a swipe or little infinite.
Yeah, but then the thing, and you can say this about any weapon, is how much utility would you actually use that for in real life?
True.
Like with the Crytek nanosuit, you can still use it to run around super fast and be invisible all the time and to do super strong things. So you could like very plausibly make an awesome construction business with that nanosuit because you can lift really ridiculously heavy things and do it really quickly. But like only so many things need to be killed. So if you're not a mercenary or something, then its use is like limited.
I don't think so, hey? I think you would be able to use it for recovery of people. So you could go like if there's huge amount of rubble and they need really precise cutting of certain things, I think your energy blade would come in like incredible amount of use. Because then you could do precision. This is like lightsaber in your hand, basically. And you could do some precision cutting. Even then, you could even use it for so-and-so like construction and for cooking if you want to use it as a chopping item. Dude, this item, it could even be used as a harvester, as a sickle. Because then you can go through all that, like all the trees that you want to gather or all the farming or all the grain you want to gather by hand. You have this like simple zong, zong, zong.
Yeah.
And then like put them into the item really conveniently put together. That's my opinion, at
Yeah.
least. That's me poking good things about your energy sword, because it's literally a lightsaber. Like you said, where would you use it? But if you think of it, there's a lot of places that require hands-on destruction. Imagine bringing that
Yeah.
item to a rec room where you're allowed to go wreck everything in the room. You walk out like panting with this house falling down.
I think it better to avoid the entire discussion of having even something as thick as a lightsaber that's literally the heat of the sun
Yeah.
within arm's reach. Let's
Yeah.
avoid that for now, as the looming specter in the background, and yeah, just leave it to sit there.
Okay, I think we've come to the end of the episode, unfortunately, audience. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Ramble Shamble. But before you go, guys, I hope you're aware that we do post this on multiple platforms, on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, and Google Stitcher, Google Podcast, Stitcher, a number of platforms. And while we explain it every single time, is for you to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who might be interested in not just gaming, but any topic really. And you guys can come join our community where we have a Discord. You can share your opinions about the question that we asked you at the beginning or midway through this episode on YouTube. But Discord is our best way to speak to us. You can play games with us, share your art, share your passions, share your interests, even join us with a podcast idea that you guys decide on your own. Or feel free to share your ideas on the question, because that's really valuable for getting your name out there. Where, Jotun, please explain Ramble Shrapnel to our audience.
Yes. So from the questions that we guys ask you in the episodes, we do always ask you about who do you think had the better argument or the better choice in the episodes. But we do also ask you some random questions as well, like what would be the video game item that you believe would be the most overpowered thing? And that is the question for this week. So which do you think is the most overpowered item? We've given you guys a few examples here today, but please suggest your own. And we take our favorite response from either the Discord or YouTube or another place where you can comment. It can also be our social media, because we're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well. And you can leave us a comment over there on any of the platforms that I mentioned and give us an answer to the question. But we also said today that you can actually suggest anything interesting for us, and we'll choose our favorite one, the one that we find the most interesting, and talk about that for a little bit in a separate playlist called Ramble Shrapnel, because it's a little bit or a piece of the main episode. But again, we ask you guys a dedicated question, so we will give preference to the question of the main episode. But every now and then we see a special one, like a recent one that we did, and we like it so much that we just talk about that instead.
Oh, 100%. And guys, remember, we try to post regularly on every Thursday. Again, if we miss an episode, it's because, and you guys aren't aware, it's probably because you're not part of our social media, and you only get notified via that platform. Again, you can even speak to us directly there and say, where's our episode? Why are you not posting 2 episodes a week? Again, you can mention recommendations for improvement. There's a lot of things you can do on our little social medias. But again, guys, we thank you guys for listening to us. We hope you guys come listen to our next topic, or go listen to some of our other topics if you haven't listened to them already. And we hope you guys come join us in the future topic. That's me, Mackie, signing off.
Bye bye, everyone.